Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce and Joyce. We're going back to the movies.
Are we?
Yeah. We're taking a week off from Emmys.
Movies at home.
Yeah. We're taking a week off from Emmys to talk about the Oscar race before the festival start.
Is this like the last exciting moment? Or I don't know if it's even exciting, but like anticipatory.
This is still, yeah. I feel like this is like when the end of spring training happens because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's like before the season starts.
Everyone's psyched. I'm like reading all the
Yeah.
things. I'm like, man, this guy's going to have a great season. He's had a great spring training. Who
And
knows?
then they just flop.
You
Like
never
remember
know.
2 years ago, everything flopped.
Bardo. Never forget Bardo.
Remember that?
Who could forget it and
Sun,
who could remember it?
Empire of Light.
What do you think the streaming numbers are for Bardo and Empire of Light?
Um, -2. Well, no, I don't like how many people do you think completed a full screening of either one of them?
I had a hard time completing a full screening sitting in the theater to see it.
Well, you
But I'm
saw the original cut of Bardo, right?
I did a Telluride
Yeah, I
two
never saw
years ago.
that. So
I'll never
you need to
forget being
watch both
hustled
to
in there
compare.
by our good friends at Netflix, so excited, and then sitting there and then being like, wow, this felt like a 3 hour movie, and looking at my watch and being like, well, that's good. It was still the first hour. And I was like, I'm in for it. Here we are.
So when you're watching a movie, do you often check the time or do you restrain yourself until
If I'm enjoying the movie, I'll never check the time.
but if you are not enjoying the movie, you do.
I try to hold off as long as I could. Because once you check the time, it's like when you have to pee and then you just break the seal and then you have to keep peeing basically. Once you look at the time once, then you're just that's it.
Yeah, I try to respect the movie even if I'm not enjoying it, so
That's
I
fair.
don't check the time.
I should do that more.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm like,
but
I'll just I'm here, I'm focused. I'll just let it play, even if I'm not enjoying this. I don't
yeah,
really walk out either, even if I don't like
I've
the
only
movie.
walked out of one movie I think in my whole life. Maybe Hurly Burly. It was I think we walked out of.
Yeah, I've never done a walkout for anything.
Well,
So
we're not going to walk out any of these, Joyce. These are I'm psyched
we
this
haven't seen
year.
them yet.
Well, who knows? I think these are all going to be the best movies ever. 5 stars on Letterboxd for every one of these movies. That's how I feel right now, and we'll see what happens. So since we last spoke, Joyce, we did this in the first week of July, I think. Now it's August.
Yeah. Not much has changed. Bob Dylan is in the race.
So a complete unknown, which was filming. We talked about it a little, and it came into the race, and I immediately threw it into my predictions all
Of
over
course
the
you did.
place. Timothy Chalamet, Best Actor win. Let's go.
I
We'll
mean,
talk about
I
that later.
apparently put in Elle Fanning at some point. No memory of doing
Great.
this.
So that got added. Uh, what else? We've in our prediction center, we got all the people in the right spot so far. Like Natasha Lyonne there for Three Daughters, his Three Daughters, supporting actress now. She was just lead when we did this in July. And then
Yeah.
a few movies that are still not in predictions because they still have no distribution. And we actually have an email about this later. Are Queer, the Luca Guadagnino movie with Daniel Craig in a buzzy performance that many people think could win Best Actor, assuming it gets distribution in the United States before the Oscars are over.
Yes. And Maria is also still
Correct.
missing.
Angelina Jolie's movie, Pablo Larraín, Best Actress Whisperer, who has got that movie premiering at Venice, and then the Venice guy, what's his name, Joyce? Barbero.
Alberto. Yeah.
He said it's
He's
premiering.
talking up a lot of movies, but as he's wont to do.
He's great. I love that guy. He said it's coming to Telluride next, which was not a surprise. Telluride still has not announced its lineup choice, but we have a good sense of
Well,
what it's going to be.
they're always like that,
Yeah.
secretive.
Uh, gonna be like Saturday Night, Jason Reitman's movie, Maria, Honora, all these big movies. So Maria, no distribution either. And so we have a question about this later. We'll see. Those, I mean, it feels like logically, like Queer is going from Venice to Toronto, I think, and New York, right? Isn't it hitting all three of those? And Maria's doing Venice and Telluride and maybe somewhere else, I forget. So
It's like the expectation is it will be picked up.
And then it'll get out probably the end of the year. And there you see those in December, and those people get into the acting race.
What if they're not dated for this year?
I think that would be crazy, but stranger things have happened. And certainly, like, I'm just surprised. Like, I guess I'm so like Maria. I was thinking like Pablo Rain movies, right? Like, okay, so he had Jackie with Natalie Portman, that was Searchlight, and then Spencer was Neon, but they had it, I think, pretty early, right? Like, it was
Mhm.
definitely had
Yeah.
distribution going to the festivals. This one, no distribution. I was like, I mean, I guess compared to like the other previous biographies of those women were maybe
See,
more well known
yeah,
than Maria Callas, and
yeah.
so perhaps that has some part of it because it's like Spencer was not like a world beater in terms of its like box office. Not that that matters, but like, and then Queer. I was like, man, Luca Guadagnino, those movies seem like they're like, how is that not an Amazon MGM pickup yet? I don't know, but I guess we'll see.
He also has multiple cuts of that movie
It,
floating
it,
around.
apparently it was 3 hours and then 2.5, and now it's like
Yes.
just about 2 and 10.
It keeps going down by like 15-minute
And I'm in
increments.
on that too because keep making them shorter, make movies shorter. So
Movies
we
don't
won't
need to be longer than 2 hours. So
no, well, we won't be talking about those movies very much, I guess, but we will be going through our picks. So we're gonna go back not to what we did in March. We'll go back to July and then now where we're going into the festivals, Joyce, and we're gonna go through all the above the line stuff: picture, director, actor, actress, supporting actress, screenplays, and then emails. That's our big day. I'm psyched. So let's start with picture. In July, I had Anora, Blitz, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, Gladiator 2, Hard Truths, Mike Lee's movie, which is, I think, going to Toronto to premiere. Sing Sing, which is out now, we could talk about. We Live in Time, which went south with the memes this week, Joyce, or last week with the horse meme. Did you see that?
I saw that. Who do you think I am?
I don't think that's what you want for your prestige movie.
Well, you know what? They chose to release that, or maybe that is what they want. Because if it were a normal horse, how many people would still be talking about it?
Great, great marketing skills right there, Joyce.
Yeah.
Really, it's really smart. I should have thought of it that way. And the movie Wicked. Not heard a
Heard a
lot
lot.
about this one. Doesn't seem
Well,
like
Wicked, I know you don't watch the Olympics,
no, I
but
know.
Wicked was all over the
I'm
Olympics.
joking. I did watch a lot of the Olympics on Peacock, and it was every ad was Wicked, and every movie I've been to in the theater has been a Wicked trailer.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for Wicked. Anyway, now my next picks, Joyce. I made two changes. I said goodbye to one of my faves, which I had from March, and also Hard Truths. So I added a Complete Unknown, and I added Joker Folie à Deux, finally. And I took out We Live in Time and Hard Truths. Everything else
Wow.
is the same. I just have the same 8.
Cool.
So there you go.
Um, I don't like that this is 10. I was saying this beforehand.
Okay, so this is a year where the push for 10 feels like a little forced, I would say.
Um, so what in July? I had a real pain on Nora, Blitz, Conclave, Dune, Amelia, Hard Truths, Joker, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing.
Mhm.
So now I have Conclave, Sing Sing, Honora, Amelia, Dune, A Real Pain, Blitz, Nickel Boys, Joker, and a complete unknown.
So you drop Hard Truths
Yeah,
and add a Complete Unknown.
yeah. I'm concerned about Hard Truths. We discussed this way back in March. It's Bleecker Street already. Um, so I feel like it needs a lot of momentum going into the fall, and right now it doesn't seem like it has any.
So it's a little early to say like to write things off, but I was also like, I don't think you could take like what got placed in what festival as like a ding on a movie. Like if it gets into the festival, I think that's great. Toronto is obviously like a prestigious fest. So like the fact that it's going there to premiere is not a problem to me. but it did skip like Telluride in Venice, where you're maybe like, oh, maybe this Mike Lee movie would go there, right? I think so. That's like a little note. And then the fact I think it's not coming out wide until January. None of this really
Yeah.
matters, but I'm like, that's a late movie. So if they're gonna run it at the festivals in Toronto and it lands there amid like 100 other really noisy titles, and then it's put on ice for like 2 months while these other noisy titles are generating a lot of momentum, and its best bet is probably to get a Best Picture nomination because like Marianne Jean Baptiste is going to be a Best Actress contender. I don't know. It just feels like that might be a lot to ask. And so you like Complete Unknown, which now we both have, also a late movie and no festivals. But like a Bob Dylan biopic is a pretty easy sell, and you could if unless it's like not good, it's going to be very hard to imagine, especially the boomer contingent of the Academy not liking this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have like sky high expectations of a complete unknown either, but I think there is um more excitement for it for obvious reasons, you
Yes.
know. And I think that is something that people will check out whether or not they are currently aware of the movie, but just, when like December rolls around, it's like, oh, the Bob Dylan movie is coming out. Like, I'll check it out, you
And
know?
Searchlight movie. Now I think you still have Real Pain, is that right?
Yeah.
So you have two Searchlight movies, but I know you were part of the reason you were in on a Real Pain. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is because it was Searchlight, right? Like if it was another
Yeah.
distributor, you might not have had it in there.
Yeah. And so we were talking about this before too, about like which studio would have multiple Best Picture nominees. And there's
Yes.
a chance that like none will. I mean, it could be Searchlight, it could be Warner Brothers, but it could shake out in a way where it's just like single studios
Yeah.
for most of these. So
Um, I think that sounds right. So we're really so the other one I came to finally with the otherwise. So now we have all the same except I have where are we missing? Oh, I have Gladiator 2, which you're not as high on, and I have Wicked, and you have Nickel Boys and A Real Pain. So I'm going like big like four quadrant Oscar movies getting in, and you have the smaller ones, I would say.
yeah, I don't know. We talked about this in March about the sequels. So I already have two of them.
I have three because I still have Dune. I'll give you my take on Gladiator 2. Since we last spoke, the trailer came out and it fucking rules. And then I rewatched Gladiator and it's great. And I was just like, this movie's getting in. And that's it. I was just like, I'm in on this. I think it'll get in because you have a great ensemble cast and then also like a lot of great tech, I'd imagine, the craft stuff. I think it'll just carry in as like a consensus. Like, I don't think I guess it could win Best Picture if it's great. Again, that would be kind of crazy. But I do think it'll like be in there. And then the reason I went back to Joker or went to Joker, where they're gonna say like no shit, is I just was like I watched the trailer, I read that interview with the Venice guy, right, Barbaro, and I was just like, there's so many categories where I think it'll be very competitive for a nomination that I think overall it just has enough mass to get in for Best Picture. That was my take, basically, which I'm sure you had thought about 6 months ago, but there you go.
Uh, I mean, I'm just not gonna drop it right now. I guess like my thing is like the things I already have, um, I'm not gonna drop it unless I really feel like I have a reason to, like Hard Truth.
Right.
So like for Joker, I already have it, and it's not that like I don't want to put Gladiator in, but it's like I can see Joker getting back. I think it'll probably have a similar reception as the first one. They're like way more divisive in America than overseas.
Yeah. Nickel Boys, I've heard at least whisper of it being really good. So I could see that getting in as well. I think I would still have that in 11th. The reason I'm high on Wicked is the same reason I was high on Gladiator and Joker is I just think it like the mask. I think it's competitive in so many categories below the line. I think it's going to be like potentially the biggest or one of the biggest hits of the year. I really think it's going to do well the way they're selling it. And I just think all that maybe matters. And if it's any good, I think it would get in. So I'm hoping that it's good. Movies we haven't mentioned. So the piano lesson is still hanging there in the odds. I think it's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's in 11th place. Neither one of us have that one from Netflix.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that could mostly be an acting thing, although I can see it getting into Best Picture, obviously. It will have Netflix visibility, which is a
It's
leg up on a lot of films.
big. But again, I agree with you. I think it feels like an acting play. A Real Pain is next. Wicked. The Room Next Door, the Pedro Almodovar movie, his first English language movie, Joyce.
Yeah, I thought about putting it here. I don't know. I feel like it could get like individual stuff for Pedro and Julianne and Tilda.
I I was like, it's a Sony classic, so like obviously it's gonna get the campaign that's good. But I also like, when has the Academy ever embraced Almodovar movies enough widely to get it into Best Pick? It just seems like,
That's the thing. That's why I feel like it'll probably perform better individually.
yeah. Night Bitches after that, the Amy Adams movie from Ariel Heller, another Searchlight movie.
I want this to do well because I want everyone to say Night Bitch.
I feel like the pitch for this is going to be, and the promo for this is going to be Poor Things. Just run that back because it's like a strange-ish premise that has a beloved actor leading it, and that could be widely embraced for its weirdness.
I think the only difference is that I think right now there is a larger faction of people who are expecting Night Bitch to be bad, whereas like at this point last year, like going into Venice, I don't think people expected Poor Things to be bad. It was just more like, oh, let's see what Yorgos and Emma have cooked up,
And
you know?
a
So I
costume
feel like the
drama
Night Bitch, I
versus
think some people are like already going in like thinking or even wanting it to be bad, especially because, Amy has had a poor track record as of late.
yeah.
So,
Here's another one that people are already hating. Saturday Night Choice, Jason Reitman's movie on Saturday Night Live.
um, yeah, I don't know. I
Uh,
could see that going either way. Hugely successful or just this had Oscar buzz.
could be up in the air, could be the front runner.
Remember The Front Runner?
I actually rewatched it because I was rewatching a lot of Jason Reitman movies in preparation for this, and it's just not good, but it's not bad. It's a strange movie. I think everybody in it is really good. It's got a great cast. It looks really cool, and it has the patina of like a Robert Altman 70s movie that he was trying to do, but it just
Yeah,
doesn't
like
really
like
work.
Hugh Jackman tried.
And I watched the trailer for Saturday Night, and I was like, man, it really does remind me of The Front Runner, but mixed with like a Sorkin cosplay script. So it's like but maybe like being the Ricardo's Sorkin and not like Social Network Sorkin.
Oh yeah, because it's one night.
And so I'm like, I think this could go either way. The thing I love I love the idea of this movie is because it has all people I'm really excited about in their careers in it. The cast is absolutely loaded. Cooper Hoffman, Gabriel LaBelle, Rachel Sennott. I'm like, these are my faves.
Yeah, I can also see this kind of being like the stack cast that somehow does not get into SAG too, you know?
I think that could happen too. Uh, Another one we had mentioned briefly, and I guess neither one of us really have one of these movies represented, though I guess maybe Nora is the one because it won Cannes. But in the last few years, obviously, we've seen like these more internationally focused films or Cannes faves getting in. So Seed of the Sacred Fig is hanging around too in our odds, but not predicted by either of us right now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go for like the Anatomy of a Fall, Zone of Interest two for
I think this year
yet.
maybe not as much, but uh, what do you have winning right now, Joyce?
So I did have Sing Sing in first,
Same.
but now I just put Conclave in first, just for shits and giggles. Because I feel like everyone has Sing Sing in first right now, so I'm like, I'll do something different.
So we've both seen Sing Sing. I went to the movies last week. I paid human dollars to see this movie.
Congratulations.
Went to the Angelica last Wednesday night. It's not really playing anywhere.
No, it opened limited, obviously, a month ago now, very, very quietly. And I was like thinking about this because I actually saw a BD TV ad recently, and I I don't think I've seen a Sing Sing ad on TV at all.
I don't watch as much TV as you like regular TV, but I
Yeah.
have not
I actually
seen.
have cable, so
And you have so I think it on Friday it was in more limited release in
yeah,
my area.
it's been gradually expanding.
So it'll keep expanding. Obviously it was like a fave at a TIFF. I think everybody, a lot of people who've seen it really are responding to it emotionally. I thought it was good.
Yeah. I think it's solidly made, and it's obviously quite emotional.
I I watched the movie and I was like, so here are a couple of things I thought watching it, and I wonder if this also plays into like I kind of wrote about this on Letterboxd. So if you're watching this and you're like, Chris, I already heard this. Joyce is not because she definitely doesn't give a
Yeah.
single fuck about Letterboxd or what I write on it, nor should she. But I was like, I had seen two movies previously before I saw Sing Sing, which I think a lot of people probably have done the flipped experience, at least in the industry, because they saw Sing Sing at TIFF, which I did not see. Anyway, go the movie Daughters, which is on Netflix now. It's a documentary about this father daughter dance in prison and how like it's really like a lot of while different obviously in terms of Sing Sing, which is about like a theater program, a lot of a similar emotional buttons being pushed and a lot of similar thoughts like being explored and themes being explored. And then this other movie called Ghostlight, which was at Sundance, Joyce, that is like no one has seen. IFC put it out. I got to see it though, and it was wonderful. It's about a family recovering from a family tragedy through theater and like the power of theater. And so both those movies and Sing Sing are all within that same like kind of theme. But I had seen both of those movies first and I really liked those. And I like them both more than Sing Sing. But I was like, is that because I had seen them already and kind of like was used to this theme? And or was it something with Sing Sing, I guess?
Well, I haven't seen any of the other
Okay.
two.
So
But yeah, I would say like Sing Sing like met my expectations of what I thought the
sure.
movie would be. And yeah, I think it's kind of a film that I think would do well on a preferential ballot because I think it's hard to hate
Yes.
it.
And the narrative is ripe.
Yeah, like obviously Clarence Macklin playing himself.
So outside of Colman Domingo and maybe like one or two other actors who I recognized, it's mostly all people who were part of that program. So it's like a documentary style almost, the blending of like reality. These people are playing versions of themselves, including Clarence Macklin, who is like the co-lead of the movie with Colman Domingo. Um, so I think that like I was just like watching, I was like, man, it would be so easy. It's so easy to imagine this winning SAG ensemble, right?
Oh
Like
yeah. Yeah.
and so like and having that kind of the movies that are out this year, which is like we saw like not last year with Oppenheimer, though I think there was like a real genuine enthusiasm for that cast, but because it was stacked with so many A-listers, but like Everything Everywhere and Coda going back to those two, it's very easy to imagine Sing Sing in that same mold where it's like everyone wants to see this cast. They want to see these guys together. They want to talk to them. They want to be in the room with them. They want to like honor them. And so like it's very easy to imagine. Like I understand why it's in first place in the odds, especially in a year where like sight unseen on a lot of these, but the ones we have, like there's not as Dune is in second place. I love Dune, but man, there's not a lot of. Is there a lot of enthusiasm and emotion around Dune Part Two right now? Would you say no?
No, I think the thing that's interesting about Sing Sing to me right now is that obviously it's a small film, um, and like I didn't expect it to explode like the way that Everything Everywhere did, right, when it came out. But it does feel like no one is talking about it, like even from the very small sample size of people who have seen it. You know what I mean?
That's the sense I got too, and I was like, is it being uncharitable to say that because it's slowly rolling out, and like obviously they're not going to like they're not going to shoot their shot now because this is like a long
Yeah.
runway to get this movie into the Oscar race, and that's 6 months from now, right, or whatever it is. So, like they're going to slowly do it, but I just
Yeah,
and
they
like
don't need to campaign, but I just mean like the conversation
even
from
like yeah,
viewers.
like I was trying to think back, like Coda barely did not exist basically in August, but I feel like at least maybe because I liked Coda more, but I was like it felt like there was more enthusiasm for Coda at this time 3 years ago than there is now for Sing Sing. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, Coda, it opened in August 3 years ago, and yeah, like very quietly. But I think I looked at that differently because it was Apple, so I didn't
Right.
expect people to discover it theatrically.
Right.
Whereas this is Sing Sing is A24.
Yeah.
So but I mean, like you said, it's still early and they're obviously gonna campaign a shit ton. Coleman has not taken a day off since the Rustin campaign after the SAG strike ended in November. So
And we'll talk about him when we do Best Actor, but I really, really enjoyed him in this. Do you think, like, I'll give you a couple movies. So we mentioned like Queer and Maria are not no distribution yet, so we can't like think about them. If they were, would you have like one of those movies represented here?
probably not Maria. Um or like I guess I should say I would do Queer before Maria, but
I would
I'm
too.
not like confident in Queer either.
Same. I don't know. I'm not either, and I would agree with that. I mean, but maybe I guess if Daniel Craig becomes like a front runner to win Best Actor, I do think it's possible like Queer would get in.
Yeah. So you have like all the mainstream picks
I
and
do.
sequels.
I do.
What about Inside Out 2?
I really liked Inside Out 2 a lot, and I saw it a second time. I liked it even more. I don't think I think there's just too many other options here, and I still think there's a stigma on animation. So no,
This is not going to be
no.
the first one since Toy Story
And
3.
and I'll give you another one that's never gonna get in, but I rewatched it over the weekend. Furiosa is the fucking best. It was so good. I was like, it's actually better than I even remembered. It warranted a second viewing. It'll never get in. I wonder if it'll get in below the line in certain spots, but I don't think it
Yeah,
will.
it could get crafts,
I
but
hope it does because it
it's
was
not
really
getting
good.
Best Picture.
Uh, right now I have Amelia Perez winning.
Sure.
My thinking was I still haven't seen it. I know people have like it was polar. I guess was it polarizing? A little polarizing out of Cannes. Would you say that's true or no? I don't even know.
I think it's leans it's not divisive, I don't think. I think it leans more positive, but I don't think it's going to be as much of a consensus as Sing Sing would be. I haven't seen it either.
I think on preferential ballot, Sing Sing would maybe be better, certainly. But I was just like,
I think it will have more passion, maybe.
yeah, I just think Amelia Perez. I think this is like a Netflix movie that like Netflix will really help by having it out there, and I think it's the kind of thing that people maybe quote haven't seen before, and that will help it elevate as well. And I just was like, man, what if this is like the movie that
I
ends
guess
up
like with
being
Netflix
the winner?
is so like Netflix usually has like their like obvious like priority number one that we can all clock months in advance, right? Like last year it was Maestro.
Yes.
Um and it was supposed to be Bardo 2 years ago. And then it was Power of the Dog 3 years ago. I don't know if you can really do that this year with them. Like they have several films.
I guess to me, I looked at it differently. I was like, they have several films, but none of them feel like they have any legitimate shot of winning Best Picture except for Amelia
Well,
Perez.
that's what I mean. Like I think you could tell like in previous years what their number one was, whereas like here is like they have Emilio Perez and also the piano lesson, right? And
Right.
his three daughters. They have several films that could do well at the Oscars, but I don't think it's easy to say. Like I guess most people would say Emilia Perez because of Cannes.
I I
You
just
know,
felt like with those two, it's so much easier to think of them. They're not thinking of them, but for me, like it's easy to imagine them being like these are acting plays, and this is like the broad Best Picture play.
I guess, but I still it's still not the same vibe as like last year with Maestro, and then to have like Naiad here
Well,
hanging
the
around.
other thing I was thinking too is like of all these, like to me, and again, haven't seen Amelia Perez yet. Probably will see it at Telluride because it's gonna assumingly be there. Uh, it feels like we like a lot of the ones we've talked about with Netflix. It has been they've been losing their best picture contenders usually to they have these austere like very highfalutin best picture nominees that lose to movies that have more passion, right? Like Power of the Dog is certainly the easiest example of this, but even like Roma or like Maestro last year was never going to win best picture, but like even that one was
That was
not
divisive.
pretty divisive and not enthusiastic. There's not, but I'm like Amelia Perez, while it maybe is a little divisive, like I know a couple of people thought it was not good. at Cannes, but a lot of people are like, it was so great. I've never seen anything like it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this feels like the most everything everywhere coda-y movie that they've had in terms of
I think
potential
it
enthusiasm.
like I think what it their lack of an obvious number one and how that might help is that people won't be sick of them in a way. You know, it's like everyone was like, oh, Power of the Dog,
Right,
you know, and even like I don't think Maestro was ever number one or even like top three. I think it was
right,
like always outside of the top five, but I think it was just the expectation and waiting for it and like the Bradley Cooper of it all that kind of also made people sick of it in a way before it
sure.
even dropped. You know what I mean? And like here, I think you might be more charitable with like, oh, they acquired Emilia Perez out of Cannes and you know it won these prizes and like for the actresses and everything. Um, so and it's not really right now like favored to win best picture or anything, right? That's it's so I think that might maybe help it in the long run where it doesn't really have a target on its back,
Right,
like if Sing Sing continues to be seen as the front runner.
right. Uh, let's go to Best Director, I guess, Joyce. So I gotta find my tabs. Too many tabs. In July, I had Sean Baker for Anora, Greg Kuidar for Sing Sing, Mike Lee for Hard Truths, Steve McQueen for Blitz, and Sir Ridley Scott for Gladiator 2. And now I've got a list that's almost identical to what you had. It looks like from July. I have Jock Audiard for Amelia Perez, Sean Baker for Honora, Steve McQueen for Blitz, Ridley Scott for Gladiator 2, and I put Denny Villeneuve back in for Dune Part 2.
Wow, you think he's gonna do it this time?
I don't know. I don't really know what to do with this category at all, to be
Me
honest.
either. Well,
So,
mostly I don't know who's winning this.
I don't know.
Um, so in July I had Jacques, Sean, Edward Berger for Conclave, Steve, and Denis, and now I have Edward Berger, Sean Baker, Jacques Audiard, Steve McQueen, and I put in Pedro Almodovar for
Wow.
The Room Next Door.
Okay.
Yes.
So I thought of Pedro, and I thought of James Mangold for A Complete Unknown, but he feels like a DGA nominee that gets snubbed in the directing race.
Greg feels like a DJ nominee that
And
gets
Greg feels like a DGA nominee that snubbed in. So they both, to me, feel like DGA nominees that don't make the directing race. So then I was like, who would get
and
in?
Denis too.
So they all get in. They all are DGA nominees who miss here. Who do you end up with? I mean, Pedro Almodovar, I really thought of too, but I was like, I guess it's possible that he could get in, but the movie wouldn't, right? Like, but it's like they have 10 nominations.
Listen,
How, I mean, 10 nominees. How does it not get in then for Best Picture if he's going to get in for
it could
director?
happen.
It could happen.
Why is that so weird? There are
I
more
don't,
slots in
I
picture than
know.
there are
And it's a
in
smaller branch
director.
and all that stuff. I was like, I mean, I guess I could see him getting in. And if I did that, I would drop Denny to get him in, I guess.
I mean, remember Bennett Miller, lone nominee for Foxcatcher.
Uh, you don't have Edward Berger anymore, or you do?
I have him winning. I've had him in first this like
You
whole
have him
time.
winning. So that's another one where I was like, should I have Edward Berger in?
I don't know who's winning those, like
So you don't
truly.
have Ridley. I think Ridley Scott is like almost a lock to get in.
I don't have any like mainstream person here,
Okay.
like blockbuster person. I don't have Todd Phillips.
I don't have Todd. I guess I should drop Denny. Let me do it live. I'll drop Denny and I'll put. I'm gonna put
Like
out.
all of my picks are like esoteric people that like my normie friends have no idea who these people
I'm
are.
gonna put Almodovar too instead of Edward Berger. I just don't believe that if he didn't get in for All Quiet, like I don't know if the
Well, I think that's different because All Quiet was obviously surging late.
yeah, but it feels like the type of movie this is would be less inclined to get him in, like a thriller, a papal thriller. I can't wait to watch this. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and maybe that
It's
would
gonna
get
be
him in.
hilarious. It could be the first PG movie to win since Driving Miss Daisy. Come on.
I'll put Almodovar in too because I almost had him in, so I'm gonna put him in and switch my picks. There you go. I'm so easily swayed. Sorry,
I mean, I
Denny
guess this is
again.
exciting because like this was set at this point last year, basically.
Yes,
So, and I have no idea who's winning this year. Like,
I I I still have. I think I have Steve McQueen first, but I don't really feel confident in that at all. I think Sean Baker could really win for Nora, but it would be like weird to have him so embraced when he's been so like it feels like the nomination is the
It feels like a
reward.
lot of these films or these people, if they also wrote their film, it's like it feels like they have a better shot in screenplay.
Like I think Ridley could win, even if Gladiator doesn't win. I think we could have a reverse of 2001 ceremony, where I think he actually could win Best Director if the movie is any good, and the movie doesn't win Best Picture because there's other movies that they like more.
I think we could have a split this year. I
Yes.
don't know what it is. But
Well, I
like
think we
I
think
like
it's
at
gonna
this
be.
point the conditions are ripe for one, unless something really takes off and becomes a consensus fave.
So you dropped Denny as well then, and you added
Yes.
Almodovar. That was your change, and you have Edward Berger winning. Amazing.
Hey, the trailer already calls him an Academy Award winner.
No, no editing necessary there.
No,
Just
who
print the
needs
legend.
facts?
Print the
Yeah.
legend. That's all.
The I love when trailers tout things like that, especially for not A-list filmmakers, because if you're just like a regular person watching it, like my normie friends, like they're not gonna give a shit like what Everberger has won or hasn't won. You know, like that's not gonna make them watch this movie. They'll just be like, who is Everberger? You know?
And they just want to put it up there so it looks like impressive.
Yeah. But it's like it doesn't mean anything to a regular person.
Eh, What do you think? So back, this is the same question: Pablo Larraín or Luca Guadagnino. If Luca Guadagnino is here, would you put him in, even if Queer doesn't get in for Best Picture?
I don't know. I don't.
I guess we have to see the movie. I don't know literally anybody who's seen it, not even like anecdotally, a
Well,
third party.
he's still cutting it, so
Uh, Other people we could mention. So you mentioned Todd Phillips, who I think I toyed with having in here at one moment, but I switched out. Mariel Heller for Night Bitch.
is she the highest
She sure
predicted
is.
female
Yeah,
director this year?
she sure is. Mohammed Rasulullah for The Seed of the Sacred Fig.
I thought about him. I didn't do it, but I thought about him.
I wonder if they'll do like a special award for him in the movie or something if it doesn't get like
At the
actual.
Oscars?
Yeah.
I don't they don't really do that anymore. They did that a lot in the 80s.
What if they brought it back?
No. We don't need to be giving out more awards,
How
really.
about Ramel Ross for Nickel Boys?
I mean, I guess it becomes like a top three film.
Not a lot of depth here. James Mangold, like I said, I think is the DGA nominee. Francis Ford Coppola for Megalopolis.
No,
Erica Tremblay for Fancy Dance, Joyce.
I don't think so.
George Miller for Furiosa. Robert Zemeckis for Here. A lot of
That could
classic.
go on your dream ballot.
Yorgos for Kinds of Kindness. John M. Chu for Wicked. Beetlejuice director Tim Burton.
I don't know who's gonna make this five.
It seems like there's a real lack of consensus. I think the consensus is Sean Baker and Steve McQueen.
Yeah, I guess.
The top five in the odds are McQueen, Baker, Villeneuve, Berger, and Greg Cuidar.
I mean, I understand.
Totally. That's a DGA five. I could put that five in right now for DGA and be like, that's right. Truly.
It's funny how we can always tell the DJ five, just like last year with like Greta Gerwig.
Uh, like I said, I really do think Ridley could win. I know I'm higher on Gladiator 2 than most people, but I just was like, they don't do sentimental, but what if it's actually good? I just keep going back to what if it's good?
You could say that about any movie.
What if Joker is good? What if Hard Truth is good? You're right, you can. I'm doing it right now. Next up, Joyce, is Best Actress, I guess, if we're doing it in the Prediction Center. So back in July, I had Amy Adams for Night Bitch, TIFF recipient or honoree, right, this year. Cynthia Erivo for Wicked. Carla Sofia Gascon for Emilia Perez, Marianne Jean Baptiste for Hard Truths, and Mikey Madison for Honora. And I have four of those same actors now. I have Amy Adams for Night Bitch, Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon for Emilia Perez, Mikey Madison for Honora, and I added Saoirse Ronan for the movie The Outrun, acquired by Sony Classics for a release in October. I saw this
Let's
movie, Joyce.
see. Add it again.
They're back.
Um, in July, I had Amy, Carla, Marianne Jean Baptiste for Her Truths, Natasha Lyonne for His Three Daughters,
Yes.
and Mikey. And now I have Amy, Mikey, Carla, Julianne Moore for The Room Next Door,
Nice.
and Saoirse for The Outrun.
Nice. So we differ on. I'm going on the Wicked train.
You're gonna remain on the Wicked train.
Julianne Moore, I thought of too, and we both have Saoirse for The Outrun and not Blitz. So I don't know what I don't know. We have not. Who knows? I could see her being run supporting for Blitz of no information at all. But I'm just like, if it's an ensemble movie, like he is kind of alluded to, Steve McQueen.
Yeah, like she's obviously a lead in The Outrun,
Yes,
so it would behoove her strategically if she cares about this to go supporting for Blitz. If that it's like, and like you said, if it's an ensemble film, I mean it's about her son. The kid is the main character really, so
yes.
it's like justifiable for her to be supporting for Blitz if
I
you go by the law line.
yeah, I enjoyed this movie. I don't know if enjoy is the right word. It's a good movie. It's a solid movie. A very like classic like addiction drama, and she's in like almost every scene, and it's like pretty remarkable
I
performance.
can
She's
see her
so
just
easy.
being the only nominee for the movie.
I definitely think she would be the only nominee based on what I've seen of the movie. It would, I guess, be potentially a nominee in adapted screenplay because it's based on a memoir. And I thought the editing was actually pretty creative, but it would have to be like a huge movie, like a big deal to get in for editing. And none of the supporting actors really pop. Papa Sado is in it, and he's like pretty solid, but he's not in enough of it, I would argue. Do you think I had her winning for a while, and I switched to Carla uh, Sofia Gascon when I moved Amelia Perez into first for Best Picture. But I was actually like, I really think she could win for this.
Saoirse?
Yes, even if she's a low nominee, I really think she could win for this, especially based on the competition.
I I can see her like winning some regional critics. I feel like she would probably have to sweep televised and just have that momentum if she's in a weak film, especially as a lone nominee. It'll have to be like Julianne Moore and like Still Alice.
That's kind of what I was thinking it might be, though. I really do think that could happen because I was like looking at the potential. All right, so like I said, I have Carla in first. Who do you have in first then? Amy Adams still?
I still have Amy because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
And like I could see, I mean, the same logic would apply to Amy Adams, where it's like if she's like a lone nominee from that film or like one of two nominees, and she's got like obviously everybody wants Amy Adams to win an Oscar, and she starts winning, it's like gonna like steamroll. But I feel like the movie might be more divisive than The Outrun, which is pretty down the middle in terms of like its story, and like we've seen that kind of story before. It felt like a bigger version of the small movie with a big heart to Leslie.
She's not gonna have the same out of nowhere campaign in the last
No.
5 days though.
Um, but yeah, Julia Moore I think is really competitive. I still have Cynthia Erivo because I was like I'm in on Wicked, and obviously she's got like the showcase part. So like why would I go off of that? So we mentioned why we don't have Saoirse for Blitz. She's fourth in the odds for Blitz right now, but I think that's because people are just not hip to Outrun yet, which is a little lower.
Well, Outrun also, I mean, everyone, like, Apple has always had Blitz,
Yes,
and
Outrun was the recent Emmys.
Outrun was searching for a distributor since Sundance, and then SPC came in. I guess it could be like Living, that just got actor for Bill Nye an adapted
I think
screenplay.
that's like what it would be, but I actually think it's more win competitive based on her performance and her stature.
What would you do if slash once Maria is eligible here.
I would probably drop Cynthia. I have Cynthia Erivo in fifth place, so I'd probably put Angelina in place of her. Though I don't think Amy Adams is completely locked to get in, even though
Oh no, I don't think she's locked at all. I have her in first.
she's going to be treated as a lock, obviously, and like the festival rollout plan for this movie is going to print the legend on her being a lock with like the TIFF tribute and all this stuff, and people are going to be like, give Amy Adams an Oscar, and she's going to be all over the place doing press. But if the movies are not as strong as like some of these others, but I would probably drop Cynthia Erivo and put in Angelina when I can do that. Neither one of us have Lady Gaga. I'm
No,
still thinking she might go supporting. That was at least whispered about in the online circles, Joyce, that maybe she'd be supporting.
a lot of things are whispered about in the online circles.
If she went supporting, I think she could win just based on nothing at all. But and I would probably put her in. Julianne Moore, you mentioned June Squibb, very popular pick for Thelma, Joyce.
Yes. I think it'll be cool to see her get a Globe nomination. I think
I
she will definitely win like AARP.
I think she could also win like one of the critics groups, maybe even a high profile one. What if she wins like LA Film or ties with their genderless categories and it's like she's one of the four people they cite for like lead performance?
Sure. I could see her getting some like runner-up citations.
Or like in New York Film Festival, like we're
Would
gonna hear that.
would they double cite her for Thelma and Inside Out too?
Yes. And I could see New York Film, I said New York Film Festival, New York Film Critics Circle, like she'll be like in the conversation and not win. And that'll get leaked out where it's like, oh, Thelma was like June Squibb was in like the top four.
Who's gonna be this year's Charles Melton?
Great question. I feel like Mikey Madison will be, but it's such an
No,
obvious
but
one.
that's too obvious. She'll get so many of the breakthrough awards, even though she's already broken through. So she'll be this year's Austin Butler.
I guess we'll figure it. I don't know. Let me see. No, nobody in the actress categories feels like they would qualify.
No.
Um, yeah, I would put. Who would you put in for Angelina Jolie?
I guess I would drop either like Julianne or Amy for her.
Julianne, I thought of putting in, but I just think maybe
She's had so much
Tilda.
trouble getting back in, both her and Tilda since they've won. Like now it's been 10 years since
I
Still Alice.
I actually don't have either of them in based on what I know very little because I don't know how to read, but I did read a little about the room next door, and it feels like Julianne has got like the not a cipher character, but she's just like the entry character, right? You know what I mean? Like it feels like Tilda would have more to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just needed a body
Sure.
here, really.
So we both
So
have Julianne in.
I could see this being another like disappointment with her, just like last year with May December.
Yeah. Best actor choice. So in July, before we had some moves, including Timothee Chalamet for Clean Note, I had Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ray Fiennes for Conclave, Andrew Garfield for We Live in Time, Paul Mescal for Gladiator 2, and Jesse Plemons I threw in there for Kinds of Kindness because I needed somebody to put in. And now I've got Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, who I think is win competitive. Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ray Fiennes for Conclave, Paul Mescal still for Gladiator 2, and I did throw in Joaquin Phoenix for Joker Folie à Deux, but I would absolutely drop him for Daniel Craig if and when we can do that.
So in July, I had Coleman, Rafe, Paul, Joaquin, and Sebastian Stan for A Different Man. And now I have Coleman, Rafe, Timmy, Joaquin, and Paul.
So we have the same five.
Yes.
So if you were going to drop somebody for Daniel Craig, you would probably drop Paul, I guess.
I would probably do like Paul or Joaquin, I
Yeah.
guess.
We talked about this a little bit on our mailbag last week, but people are really mad at Joaquin Phoenix, Joyce, for dropping out of the Todd Haynes movie.
They are.
And the wheels are turning to get it to be that this is going to keep him away from an Oscar nomination because people are so mad. There was a THR article that had one producer who said people are mad, and that was the headline.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure people are mad. I don't think that's a lie.
Sure, some
But
people are mad,
yeah,
certainly.
people are definitely mad.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't really see that correlating to his chances of an Oscar nomination, especially 6 months from now.
It, I I never had him in until now, right?
Did you
We
put
did
him
this.
in to like spite the people who think
No,
he?
but I put him in because I can't put Daniel Craig in, and I just think like the other options are not as strong. Like this is not a it's not the deepest of categories. We left out like John David Washington is fifth in the odds at the moment for the piano lesson, then Paul Mescal, then Sebastian Stan. But you had Ethan Harris for Nickel Boys, very possible, I guess, if the movie's a big hit, right? Breakout. Tom Hanks for Here, Jesse Eisenberg for Real Pain, etc., etc. Jesse Plemons, Gabriel LaBelle, Andrew Garfield,
I'm
whatever.
shocked you don't have Gabriel LaBelle.
I mean, I might, but not yet. I haven't seen it yet. But I guess I was just like, if Joaquin Phoenix misses to me, and this is seemingly less competitive already than like Best Actress, where I could come up with like 20 different people I think could get in. I think people will be like, see, we told you he missed because of this Todd Haynes thing. And I think it's just going to be, he missed because we already did this performance. And no matter how good he is, it's like they already did this. They already vetted this performance. So, like, how different could it be? I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's going to have, I think he can miss, but I don't think it's going to be because of this Todd Haynes
Yeah, like
situation.
he could miss, but I don't think it's gonna be because of this
No,
controversy. And but the thing is, it's like we need him to get in to prove that the controversy will not affect him, because if he misses, then you can't argue. Like everyone like multiple times for the same performance,
right.
but I don't think he'll win if he got back in.
No. So,
So
yeah, I, I hear that. And like I said, I think this is like not the deepest category. So I would definitely have Daniel Craig in immediately once we can do that. And I still have Coleman Domingo winning.
I have him in first still too. I
I
don't think like any of these categories are really locked
no.
like last year.
I I did really, really, really like him in this movie, so much more than Rustin. I
Hmm.
thought like it was such
It's
a
a better
really
performance and
like
film than
I
Rustin.
found it like oh it's a way better film, but I found it like his performance like really really powerful and like he has a couple of really like strong moments and it felt like we're saying because the movie's like real it's the real people like acting with like an actor and he's playing like a real person who's in the movie, right? I think he's like he plays Divine G, who is like the autograph seeker in the beginning, if you've seen the movie, autograph seeker in quotes, whatever. I just found him like he works so well with the cat. I just found it like really compelling, and it felt like I never felt like there's like one scene towards the end where he has to really emote that I was like this doesn't necessarily work as well as some of the previous stuff, but I thought that was more of like a screenplay construction issue than his performance issue. I found everything he did in the movie like really realistic and like very natural, and like not like hammy like some of the scenes in Rustin were. It felt more like his stuff in Euphoria to me, which I always found like really naturalistic too. I don't know. I thought he was great. So I would love to see him win, frankly, but I don't know if he will.
Yeah, I don't know who's winning this, and I think a lot of Timmy Sands want him to win, and I don't know if this is gonna actually be it for him. Like I can see him getting in again, which would already be historic because he would have a second Best Actor nomination under 30.
I
But
I feel like this
I
could be a replay of Elvis and the
well, I don't know, like because it's also I don't even think like the transformation into Bob Dylan is as even as Beatty as Austin's into Elvis. You know what I mean?
true. I think the fact that he does his own singing and like is gonna be like a obviously a big talking point. But I was just like at that race, it was Timothy or Austin Butler, obviously like doing a musical biopic, and then like against like a beloved uh actor across the pond who is like people want to see win, and then like the lifer actor who is like character actor now, whatever. And so it's not the most perfect comp, but I'm like, Coleman Domingo feels like he would have an easy narrative to win. And Ray
And
Fiennes would be
like
Colin
Timmy's just young.
Farrell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Daniel Craig would be Colin Farrell if he's here too.
that's true. And I think Daniel Craig could probably win also, but I also wonder if it's like, is the nomination the reward there for him?
I think he would probably be like the critics pick, kind of like the way Colin was,
Yeah,
you know.
I think
So
so too. So I'd have him in instead of Joaquin. Uh, we're gonna go to supporting actress, Joyce. In July, I had Joan Chen for Dee Dee, Daniel Deadweiler for The Piano Lesson, Anjanae Ellis Taylor for Nickel Boys, Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, and Zoe Saldana for Amelia Perez. And now I have the same four, and I said farewell to Isabella Rossellini for Conclave and put Natasha Lyonne in for His Three Daughters.
wow. Um, so in July, I had, where is this? Oh, I had Joan Chen, Toni Collette for juror number two.
When is that coming out?
According to Clint's Twitter account the other day, in January.
Doesn't seem like it'll be coming out this
You
cycle.
know, it could be limited on like December 31st.
I wonder, like, so that's a Warner Brothers movie also, right? So they have a lot of movies. And I
Uh,
wonder if the wait to see, like with those late releases, do you think that the studios do this? Or they wait to see how the response is to the earlier movies before they decide? So, like, I'm sure this movie is done. We know Clint makes movies in like 5 minutes. And so, like, they have, but they already have Joker, right? And like, are they going to be like, oh, maybe if Joker isn't as strong, we'll drop this one and push it out?
well, I think that's what like the January date is for, basically,
Right,
because it's like that could still be the wide date.
right. Or they could just hold it and
Because
then,
he
right,
just said January 2025, which could just be
right,
wide. It doesn't,
right.
and they could do like limited in December.
Sure.
So um and then where was I?
You had Joan Chen and Tony Collette, and then,
Danielle, Ingenue, Zoe.
yes.
So now I have where's this? Now I have Zoe, Danielle, Ingenue, Elle Fanning. I don't remember this again. And Natasha.
Wow. So goodbye to Joan Chen for Dee Dee.
I feel like that will be like one of the performances that is champion throughout the season, but comes up short.
My thinking was, I think it'll be one of the performances champion throughout the season, and because of that, it will actually get in. Like, I think there's going to be so much enthusiasm for her as a performer, and Focus has done a solid job. Like you said, they're running ads. They've done a solid job of keeping that movie like out there. I know it just came out like in limited release, so I feel like she could get in, and I think she'll be like a critic's fave this year. Um, so you dropped her and Tony, and then you had who, Natasha, and who was the other person?
Elle,
Oh, Elle
obviously.
Fanning. Duh. Wow. So Elle Fanning plays a composite character in A Complete Unknown, I think, of like two other people who were like,
Truly, I don't know when I put her in there, but you know what? I
sure.
love it so much, I'm just gonna keep her.
And it'll be a great year for the Fannings then, because you have Dakota's an Emmy nominee, Joyce.
I know. It's like Dakota finally got the Emmy nomination that Elle had, and Elle is gonna one up her with an Oscar nomination.
Um, we both have the same three, and we both have Natasha Lyonne for His Three Daughters, a movie we've both seen.
Yeah, and I think Netflix is still trying to figure out the designations for all three daughters,
Yes.
which is her, Carrie Coon, and Elizabeth Olsen. So my fave of the trio is Carrie Coon.
I would agree with that. And I almost had double His Three Daughters. I almost
I
had
don't know if it's
Carrie
strong enough
Coon,
to do that.
and I don't think it's strong enough to do that. And I was also like, I think at issue with Carrie Coon would be she's playing a quote in air quotes an unlikable person, I think, or people are going to be annoyed by her character because she's the most severe.
I mean, I think all three of them have like quote negative characteristics in a way. I would say she plays the oldest.
Yes.
So she is the most disciplined,
Disciplined.
organized of the three. Definitely way more organized than Natasha's character.
Her character really spoke to me, I felt like. And I was just like, I think she's fantastic in it.
She's really great.
And I wonder, that was also why I was like, what if Natasha actually, so like there's gonna already, it was like, so I saw this in like, I think July maybe, or whenever, I think it was July. And it was like they did like a tastemaker event. So it was like the three of them were there, and a lot of luminaries in the space choice. I saw all these people we see on Twitter. And I think David Ehrlich's tweet was like, oh, something blah blah blah, Natasha, an Oscar win or whatever, like manifesting an Oscar nomination. And I was like, it's gonna be so easy for people to walk away from this movie and be like, man, Natasha Lyonne is great, and let's like we love her as an actor, and she's been so great for so long, and blah blah blah. But I'm like, if you watch the movie, I think Carrie Coon kind of like runs away with it a little sometimes because she's so good in it.
Yeah, I think the thing is that Natasha is like the most obvious and like basic pick.
She's the most sympathetic character, certainly in like an audience. I think she's like an audience entry point too, because she seems like the most normal, in air quotes again.
Yeah, and then it's like you she's doing like she's very much in her wheelhouse in the performance style because her
Yeah,
character is like the fuck up, you know?
yeah,
And yeah, like she is the most sympathetic because you kind of want Carrie Coon to lay off her a little bit.
yeah.
Um
But Carrie Coon makes
but
some good points.
yeah, but so I think like if you watch the trailer, I think she jumps out the most.
Yeah, and she's got like the biggest laugh lines. It's not a super funny movie, but I mean she's very amusing, I think, at times. I don't know. I think this movie's gonna be interesting because like we said, like it's a probably big priority for Netflix. It's on Netflix, and it feels like it will clean up at the SAG Awards. I already could see like multiple SAG nominations for this movie.
So they're they're definitely screening it a lot like in the past month. Like they want to get a head jump on this.
Right, because it comes
And
out in September.
yeah, so like it's going to be one of the early releases, which is like you could argue a good thing for
Yes.
it because it'll have it's not like a big movie or anything, but it'll have time to build an audience, and
Yeah.
it's definitely an actor screenplay play.
Yeah.
Because it's like a play, the movie.
I
It
am.
takes place
We'll
in a
mention it later.
park.
I have it in screenplay too. I guess like yeah. So I was like, and like we said, SAG is always good for early, right? And Netflix. So I feel
Yeah.
like this feels like the more like last year we were like this was the May December movie for Netflix last year where it's like these great actors that people love and like an ensemble thing with like this really breakout script and but because it was so negative on actors, we obviously now in hindsight realize that it was like never gonna go as far as maybe should have or
It
could
was
have.
also later because that hit Netflix in December.
True. And
So
this is way more palatable because it's like a family drama with actors everybody really likes, doing stuff that's not offensive to actors. So to me, I think it could go pretty far. And so I guess I have Natasha Lyonne and we both do. And I mean, who knows? Again, this is another category. I'm like, who's going to win this? I very easily could imagine Natasha Lyonne winning for this movie. But I wonder if like Carrie Coon either gets in or is like Carrie Coon the person who is like, does Carrie Coon end up being like the Judd Hirsch to Natasha Lyonne's Paul Dano?
I mean, she could, but I also don't know if the movie will be that big either.
Right.
So
Right. It's not gonna.
I don't know if that's like something that's gonna happen
But
with it.
I guess I just mean like, is that the performance everyone spends so much time talking about this year? Is Natasha Lyonne, and like gets critics awards and all these things or like attention, and then in the Oscar nominations come out and she is somehow snubbed, and
Well,
Carrie Coon actually gets in.
I think like the Natasha buzz could all be a red herring because I think like when it premiered like 7 months ago now, um, there was like positive ink for all of them, but definitely it leaned more towards Natasha. But I think again, I think that just like that performance style, it's just kind of like what she's good at.
Right.
So I think it jumps out more to the average viewer. Um, but I don't know if like I mean I don't even know if she'll like win any critics awards. Like
Right.
that's how I
Yeah.
feel about it. Like
I think like New York Film Critics Circle feels like like not a lock, but I mean like the most obvious one that she would win because she's like such a New York presence. And you could just imagine her at the dinner doing a speech, making everybody laugh.
sure.
And like I said, I think Joan Chen could get in for Dee Dee. So the top five in the odds are Isabella Rossellini. It's Daniel Day-Weiler winning, Anjanae Ellis Taylor for Nickel Boys, Zoe Saldana for Amelia Perez. Three actresses we did not mention really at all, but we've had them in for months, so I feel like sure. Isabella Rossellini for Conclave and Tilda Swinton for The Room Next Door.
I I've thought about Isabella from what I have not read the book Conclave, but from what I've heard is that like her part is not big. Obviously, they could expand it in the movie.
What I've read is similar. I don't read, but I did read that the part is not big in the book. It seems like they expanded her to have like at least in that Vanity Fair first look they did, it was like they expanded her to be like in it sounds like she's like Anna Paquin in Irishman, where it's like they've got her in scenes like looking over the shoulders of all these guys doing whatever the hell they're doing.
Yeah, like pad the screen time, but like that also doesn't they carry over into like import.
And then she has one big scene, it seems like.
Yes.
And I think that's in the trailer. You see that scene, like her big moment in the trailer is like her one big scene in the movie. Again, haven't seen the movie, but that's the sense I've gotten from like reading about it. So that's possible. Like she could definitely get in. I mean, I had her in previously. And Tilda Swinton for The Room Next Door definitely has like the part based on what I've read about that movie and book.
Yeah. I don't know. Like it'll be great if she and Julianne can get back in at the same time.
We didn't mention The Substance earlier with Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley is here too, kind of like hanging around near Natasha Lyonne and Carrie Coon. I feel like that movie's gonna be too gross.
I can't see them touching it.
How about Michelle Yeoh for Wicked, Halo nomination? Bring her back.
No.
Uh, how about Selena Gomez for Amelia Perez?
I mean, she could, maybe.
Double Amelia Perez. She'll be an Oscar nominee for the song category. Next we have supporting actor. Back in July, I had Kieran Culkin for Real Pain, Elliot Heffernan for Blitz, Samuel L. Jackson for The Piano Lesson, Clarence Macklin for Sing Sing, and Pedro Pascal for Gladiator 2. And now I've got basically the same four, but I've added the GOAT, Denzel Washington for Gladiator 2 with Pedro. So I've doubled Gladiator 2, Pedro Pascal and Denzel, Clarence Macklin, Samuel L. Jackson, and Kieran Culkin.
In July, I had Karen, Sam, John Lithgow, Clarence, and Stanley Tucci. And you know what? I still have them. I'm not
Wow.
gonna do anything.
So you have double conclave.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm just not gonna do anything.
just the Gladiator 2 trailer was the greatest thing I've seen in a trailer in a long time. And it's all Denzel. Just splashing the pot, having the time of his life, playing Denzel, but make it Rome in the Roman gladiator era.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
We've seen whispers of him potentially being run as a lead actor for this.
Which no,
So
but
again, haven't seen the movie. Based on the trailer, when I watched the trailer, I was like, Denzel is in these five scenes, and we've seen all five of them in the trailer. They're
yeah,
extended in
like
the
all
movie.
of his scenes could have been in the trailer.
That was the vibe I got. And having watched Gladiator recently, and having seen that this movie is basically just Gladiator again, he is the Oliver Reed character, basically. And Oliver Reed is having the time of his fucking life in Gladiator. And then he died tragically during the movie, and they had to like CGI his last couple of scenes. And it looks terrible, like Livia Soprano on The Sopranos after she died, Nancy Marchand. And I was like, if Denzel was doing this Oliver Reed part, I think he could actually get in. And what if he actually just wins for this? Like, I don't know. Uh, what if Denzel beats Samuel L. Jackson for his competitive Oscar win?
That would be hilarious. I
Uh,
don't know who's winning this either. Again, I don't know who's winning any of these categories.
and I have Pedro Pascal still because I just think like I think in the movie I think he's combining multiple parts from Gladiator because I think he's gonna have more of a he's not the outright villain. Like clearly they have uh Fred Hetchener and Joseph Quinn as like the
The
split
twins.
Joaquin character. And so Pedro is going to be an adversary, but I think with like a tragic backstory and probably conflicted and all this shit. Again, based on the trailer. So I was like, I think he'll get in. Uh Lithgow and Stanley Tucci look like a lot of fun in Conclave, though. Can't argue that.
I'm just gonna keep it. I don't really have any. I mean, like if I were gonna move someone, it would probably be for Denzel, but I'm just like, I'll just keep this right now.
So Tucci's fourth in the odds, Denzel's fifth, then Lithgow. Harris Dickinson for Blitz is sixth. Never really considered him.
Sure.
Edward Norton for a complete unknown. Joyce playing Pete Seeger.
I don't know if I could do triple a complete unknown.
I think he's possible if he's any
Yeah.
good.
If,
If the
I mean, if
movie's
I do
good.
him, I'll have to drop L, and then I don't want to think about replacing her with someone else right now.
So you asked before who is the Charles Melton of this year, and here is the person I think it is, and here's who I think will win at the New York Film Critics Circle, probably similar to Charles Melton, would be Mark Edelstein for Honora. Joyce.
I can definitely see him winning at New York, but I don't know if he'll have the same kind of momentum as Charles did.
So what if he'll get a Gotham nomination for sure, right? Just like similarly, like Charles did, win at New York, and people are going to be like, "It's November. Look at our best supporting actor frontrunner," and then he won't even get nominated.
I think people were just like way more hyped about Charles in general, and I don't
True.
know if that will apply.
Charles had the benefit of being famous, but being a breakout at the same
He
time.
was, yeah, he was a fake breakout, and it was also like people were, it was also like the character he played, so people were impressed by
Yes,
what he was doing because before that he was just famous for Riverdale.
and Mark Edelstein is playing basically like Howard Ratner, but played by Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, like Charles had a way more sympathetic character.
Again, I haven't seen Nora yet, but just based on what I've read in the trailer, uh, Richard Roundtree, a posthumous nominee for Thelma, is high in the odds. I don't see it, but Paul Raci for Sing Sing, an actor I had once had in, and I've seen the movie since, and I was like, no, I don't think he's in it very much. I think that was the biggest issue for me. He's
I
quite
just I
good.
just think it would just be Clarence
Right.
for supporting for them.
Clarence is really good in the movie. Um, but again, to be contrarian, the actor I was most impressed by was the character Mike, who's played by Sean San Jose. But I thought that guy was wonderful. Just an incredible performance. This is why I think this will win at SAG Ensemble because like the cast is really deep. But man, Sean San Jose is so good in Sing Sing. I just thought he was like really good. And he's hanging with Coleman Domingo like multiple scenes as well. Like Clarence Macklin obviously shares a lot of screen time with him, but I just found this guy like really good.
Who do you have winning?
Right now I have Samuel Jackson still, and I have Kieran in second.
I don't know about Sam. I feel like he'll be in first for a really long time.
I think he'll be in first the whole time, and I don't know if he'll win. We haven't seen the movie. It's possible he just cruises, right? Like it would be very easy to imagine him just like just cruising to a win, right? Like
Yeah.
been waiting for Samuel Jackson to win an Oscar. We all expected him to win an Oscar, and now he did. But like we said, like if he lost, I guess based on this, like this is like I think it was another year or a weaker category. I could say like he'd have a better shot, but this feels like a really strong category.
Like Clarence could be the Troy Kotzer He Kwan of the year.
You have Clarence, who's got this incredible narrative and like is very good in the movie, basically comes out of nowhere and like almost steals the movie from Coleman Domingo. Kieran Culkin, who is like off his Succession high, playing like just a
They're already doing screenings in the Hamptons. Did you see that over the
totally in
weekend?
the pocket. Like this is an easy performance, and he's got like the pathos in the performance and like the depth. It's a really well written movie. He's so good in it. Denzel having the time of his life in Gladiator, just splashing the pot, like big movie star. Like Denzel would be like Downey winning, right? Like again, like I mean, I know Denzel's already won 2 Oscars, but like It would just be like the big movie star having a big moment in this big movie. Uh, Stanley Tucci or John Lithgow both would have really compelling narratives as well, I think. I have Pedro Pascal, who I don't think is win competitive, but I don't know. I just feel like this is a tough cat. Like for Samuel to cruise, if the movie isn't like great and he's like not exemplary in it, I feel like he's not an automatic win. Whereas I think in a different year, he could have probably just cruised to a win with this same movie and performance.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know anyone who's seen the movie, The Piano Lesson.
No.
Yeah, like obviously he was Tony nominated for the performance,
And who won that year when he was Tony
but
nominated?
not him.
Interesting.
But but if you watch like the reactions, he was not pleased, obviously. So
That's
yeah,
one of the things I
like
love about
he'll have
him.
his own narrative, of course, too, because he's only been nominated once before for Pulp Fiction, and he was mad about that loss too to Marlon
And he should have
Brando.
won. He may be wrong, like we talked about that
Um,
in playback.
so I think that would definitely be like his campaign, whatever Netflix throws together for him. And but yeah, I think he would need to sweep to. I think like him being such a big star, I think it's easy to say that like he, like that won't be hard for him to do. But I think like if another movie just has more passion or performance, um, more than he does, like I can see him losing.
So
So, but
Golden
I
Globes,
understand why he's in first right now.
Golden Globes are first, right? In early January.
Yes, they're
So
always first.
Golden Globes rolls out. Best Supporting Actor. The critics groups have been split. There's been some consensus. Samuel Jackson's won like a lot of regional critics. Maybe he wins like cited in one of the big ones, right? Like maybe he gets like MBR or something, right? Who knows? Something like that. And then it's him and Clarence Macklin and Kieran. Whoever wins at the Globes of those three are gonna be a great moment, right? If Samuel Jackson wins at the Globes, he goes up, he's gonna rock a speech, right? He's gonna be great. People are gonna be like, man, I love Samuel Jackson. He could just steamroll. But if he ever lost to like Kieran or Clarence Macklin, I think that would be a big problem to him eventually winning. You know what I mean? Like with Downey, it was like we were pretty sure he was gonna win. And then once he won at the Globes, it was like, of course he's gonna just steamroll. Like it just felt like that was
I
gonna
think I
happen.
think with RDJ, it was that was more of like a death knell to the Ryan Gosling
Yes.
contingent, because I
So
think most people had RDJ winning the Oscar and expected him to win the Globe, but it kind of felt like the Globes was um Ryan's like last chance
right.
to do something. Because obviously if he lost that, he was gonna lose Critics' Choice too.
Yeah.
So
It'll be
um
interesting to see if he is. I just think if Samuel Jackson wins a televised award, I feel like he'll just roll. But I'm not sure he will win a televised award, at least right now.
yeah. And also remember the Globes have 6 nominees now too, which is annoying. Keep everything
Great
at
for
five,
me.
people.
Just put them
Keep
all
everything
there.
at five.
Uh, Adapted screenplay, Joyce. In July, here's what I had: Conclave, Hitman, my fave, Nickel Boys, Night Bitch, and Sing Sing. And now I have a complete unknown: Conclave, Nickel Boys, The Room Next Door, and Sing Sing.
In July at Conclave, Dune, Nickel Boys, Night Bitch, and Sing Sing. And now I have Conclave, Sing Sing, Nickel Boys, Room Next Door, and A Complete Unknown.
They're the same five. Good job, us.
It will be
It's
wrong.
not the top five in the odds.
I assume Dune is still in the top five in the odds.
Dune and Night Bitch are 4 and 5. Then the Piano Lesson, then A Room Next Door. Then
Again, I do want
Hitman
Night Bitch to be nominated.
would be
So,
great. Then Hitman, then Gladiator 2, then A Complete Unknown, then Joker and Inside Out 2.
I mean, I'm not sure about A Complete Unknown, but I don't know. Like I put it in picture, so I was like, why not?
Yep. And then for original screenplay, Joyce, back in July, I had Honora Blitz, Amelia Perez, Hard Truths, and We Live in Time. Now I've made some tweaks. I have A Real Pain, Honora Blitz, Amelia Perez, and his three daughters. So I have it getting in screenplay and supporting actress.
Wow. In July, I had A Real Pain, Honora Blitz, Our Truths, and The Room Next Door because it was erroneously placed here,
Yes.
so I just put it in there anyway. And now I have Honora, A Real Pain, Amelia Perez, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, and Dee Dee.
Nice. So you have Dee Dee. That's so funny. So you have Dee Dee here and not supporting actress.
Yes.
Interesting. Uh, I felt like I think again, Netflix behind his three daughters, it feels like in a category that's not really top heavy, I think it can get in. I think they'll be widely seen. It's a good script, even if it's like it is like a play, but I think that would be more of a knock on it if it was for directing, but for writing, I think it won't be.
Um, yeah, I thought about it. I just didn't do it. Um, yeah,
So
and I
you
dropped Hard
drop
Truth.
Hard Truth. Yeah, we're out on that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to that man. Um, Neither one of us have Saturday Night here. Jason Reitman's movie.
I mean, I saw it there. I just didn't move it over.
Uh, I think that could get in if it's good. That's one of those where I'm like, I gotta wait. If it's really good, I think I get in screenplay and picture.
Yeah, I think it needs like momentum
Yes.
for it. Like positive reaction and like crowd pleaser.
Yeah, I think that's true as well. Um, it could be.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have no dog in the race. I'm completely neutral on this movie and SNL in general. So,
So we both have you had A Real Pain and Nora and Blitz still, right? You have those three? You kept those?
no, I don't have Blitz.
Oh, you took Blitz out. So what did you have in there?
I mean, I don't think I ever had Blitz. Did I have Blitz?
You
Oh
had
yeah, I
Blitz
did
in
have Blitz.
July.
Yeah.
So you have Real Pain and
I have a
Nora.
Nora, A Real Pain, Amelia Perez, The Seed of the Sacred
Oh,
Fig,
the Seed and Sacred Fake, duh. So that's where you think that nomination will materialize.
I mean, why
Sure.
not?
Yeah, why not? That would be a nice way to get them
Like
to
no
the
one knows
Oscar.
anything. You could put anything you want.
So I'll be going to Telluride, and I guess we're not going to talk about this again until after the Emmys. So we'll have a whole new set of data points to talk about. TIFF Audience Award, maybe. What got the buzz? What I got to see? What people are talking
What do you
about at
think like
Telluride?
the general vibe will be post festivals basically? Because again, 2 years ago it was like there were more flops than hits, and last year it was more positive, like more hits than flops.
I think it'll be. I think it'll be more. I think it'll be more hits than flops because I think this year is so without. There's nothing like there's really nothing from the early part of the year that is going to be here except for like Dune, right? Like there's nothing. Like neither one of us really have any other movies from the first 8 months of the year basically here. Sing Sing I guess qualifies too. Other than those two, like nothing's really there. So I think we'll have more convoluted. Like there's going to be like way more, and especially because a lot of the bigger movies are not going to be at these fat. Like Joker, we'll have an idea of certainly, but like Gladiator, we wouldn't. Like a lot of the sequels, we wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be more
But does that
convoluted.
also make people um like because we want like good contenders, good movies, do you think people are more inclined to be more positive towards
Hmm.
certain things?
I kind of feel like yes, especially in the festival environment, you're always going to be like
Yeah,
higher on
because like you're
things.
just on a high next to everyone and when they're enjoying a film.
Here's an example. I saw Bike Riders at Telluride last year, Joyce.
I
Loved it.
remember.
Loved it. Fucking great time. People were mixed on it there even, but I was like, this is great. Then it got sold to Focus, dropped in summer, barely released, comes out, dropped on Peacock. I watched it the other day. I was like, it's fine. It was not as much fun for me. So I was like, you never know.
Yeah, but I guess it's like because it was also different last year because at this time we had like two huge blockbusters
And we
that were
had
already. ending, and we knew like I mean like most people or like some people had seen Killers of the Flower Moon because it premiered at Cannes, and we had already seen it at this point last year too. So it was like there are already these like huge contenders going into the fall, whereas we don't really have that now. So it's like we're looking to fill these holes.
Yes. We had 5 Best Picture nominees already at this point last year, right? Barbie, Oppenheimer, Zone of Interest, Anatomy of Fall, and Killers of the Flower Moon. That a lot of people, either everyone had seen or most people, a lot of people had seen. And this year, not so much.
I mean, unless they nominate them, so we don't know.
We'll have to see. Emails, Joyce. Emails slugfest@golden.com. I saved a few from earlier in the summer too for this, Joyce, because like we had not talked about them.
Are they outdated though?
They're not outdated, but this one I just wanted to. We didn't really talk about this movie, and it had come out, so I just want to read it. It's about Kinds of Kindness, Joyce. It's from our old friend Fear-Based Horniness.
Right.
Hi guys. Been watching the videos, even though the Emmy season is a bit of a snooze fest for me. The only thing
Wow.
keeping me awake is the
No, no more
Hacks Love.
questions.
Keeping me awake is the Hacks Love Fest, which I'm part of. See, there we go. He's back. Anyways, in honor of Yorgos Lanthimos' Kinds of Kindness, I wanted to ask something I've never figured out and always been confused about with The Favorite. Why do you think they thought running Olivia Colman in lead was a good idea? It obviously turned out to be a great idea, but you wouldn't think of wouldn't you think one of the more well-known in the US actresses would be in the lead, especially since Colman has the least screen time of the trio? What do you think made them confident enough in her to go for it? Also, what about Jesse Plemons in Best Supporting Actor this year? Could the Cannes win make it happen? It certainly didn't do it for his wife, but Lanthimos has had a scandalous press conference.
Um, well, I believe Rachel Weisz has the lowest screen time of the three,
I
but
think
that
that's
was
true.
like, they like the three of them, the actresses, they've talked about this before multiple times. Like they all decided, like Rachel and Emma decided that they wanted Olivia to go lead. That's the whole thing. They've talked about this before, and
Yes.
Olivia's talked about like how generous Emma and Rachel have been about it because they were like, we have our Oscars, so let Olivia go lead.
Yes.
So.
And Jesse Plemons in Supporting Actor, Joyce? Not.
I don't think that's getting any nominations.
Doesn't seem like it was as well received as. Should have known that from the June date. This one's from Alex. They write, Dear Joyce and Chris, genuinely curious, but with all these Silence of the Lamb comparisons and raves I've been seeing, do we think any long shot chance of nominations for the movie Longlegs, which just hit 100 million worldwide? There's potentially for the Nicolas Cage makeup transformation. Could there be possibly a shot at makeup?
Yeah, why not makeup?
Why not makeup, right?
Why not wait? Yeah.
Love it.
I mean, definitely at the Guild, you know.
I think it'll be not forgotten.
Yeah,
A neon release
like that would be cool. Like those are the the categories where we could see the outlier types of films that
would be so
don't
much
get in
fun.
anywhere else, you know? So,
Furiosa
I mean, that could get multiple. That could get like sound and production design too.
Uh, this one's from another Alex Joyce, not the same Alex. And this is not my burner account, I swear, but I'm going to read you this email. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Perhaps as one of your most theater obsessed listeners, I'm reaching out to discuss Wicked and what I feel is a severe lack of conversation for the 2025 Oscars race. Last year, I was flooding your inbox as an advocate for the color purple, and we saw how that went. I'm wondering if the seemingly inescapable era of flopped stage-to-screen musical adaptations has people just doubting Wicked from the jump. The Academy hasn't heavily favored a screen musical since Chicago. Sure, the West Side Story remake did well with nominations, but had tanked at the box office performance. Had a tanked box office performance fighting against it, although somewhat unfairly when the film debuted during the peak of Omicron. Overall, I do think the film community tends to shrug off musical adaptations, and I feel that's a mistake with Wicked. I'm stating it now on August 10th, 2024. That's when this email came in. That Wicked could have a Chicago-like performance to the top. And here's why. It's got Universal behind it, fresh off an incredible campaign for Oppenheimer, completely dominating the award season last year. And they're clearly all in on Wicked, starting with the first teaser that dropped during the Super Bowl and up to a major presence during the Summer Olympics. Not to mention the countless press opportunities that both Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are absolutely eating up. Number two, folks have been waiting this film for a decade. It has incredible star power and an ability to draw an immense range of audiences. They obviously shifted their opening weekend to avoid competing with Moana 2, but I could still see Wicked easily making $500 million at the box office. The crafts are absolutely bananas. John Chu has proven he can paint awe-inspiring elegance with Crazy Rich Asians, as well as the constantly moving action of musical theater within the Heights. This feels like a topping of a trifecta for his career, as it blends both elements, and he's already proven he's talented with. Not to mention all the online hype created during the shooting with the practical sets and costumes. I do believe the election will propel this film regardless of the outcome. This is a film about sisterhood and uplifting women despite their strifes and differences, and I do think it will resonate with voters in a way we're currently underestimating. So my main question for you is, what would need to happen for you to take Wicked seriously in the race? Also, given that there are several musicals in the Best Picture conversation this year, how do you see having an impact? Eager to hear your thoughts from
I mean,
Alex.
you're already taking it
I got
seriously.
it like fucking all over the place. Picture, Best Actress, let's go. I'm in.
Um, I mean, I think it would need to be huge, first of all, but that also doesn't guarantee anything either. I think like one of my things with the two is that it's split into two. Not that that would preclude it from being nominated for both parts,
I
but
I worry about that.
yeah,
Not gonna lie.
yeah,
And I would feel a lot more confident if it was just the one part.
yes, for sure. That's how I feel about it too. And yeah, like obviously the stage musical was a huge success, iconic. And I don't know, like sometimes like that doesn't always translate to film as we've seen also last year with The Color Purple, like Alex noted.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on like the quality of the film, and it needs it needs to hit and make a lot of money too, because it's obviously going to be a mainstream film. It's not small, clearly. And I mean the campaign doesn't even matter because we know people can campaign their asses off and that amount to nothing, you
Yes.
know? So it doesn't matter if they're Cynthia and Ariana are in your faces 24/7. Um and like the voters also need to respond to it too, because I think sometimes like that is a disconnect where we expect them to like something and they don't.
I I will I think all that's true. I will say the one thing the X factor I do think is the climate these movies are arriving in, and the election will have a factor on that no matter what, right? No, even if none of the movies are political, I think the way people are feeling at the time will make them want to
Yeah.
embrace or repel something. We
Yeah.
saw that like previously in other years. And so I think that could happen again this year. Joyce, this one is not, I don't believe, from you, but I know you'll enjoy it. It's from
Oh, great.
Warren. Hi, Joyce and Chris. The Instigators. I loved it. I watched it last week and I really enjoyed it. I think it has a great script, and I am now trying to manifest Casey Affleck wins for Best Actor and Best Original Screenplay at the Oscars next year. Have you watched it? What did you think? That's from Warren.
I enjoyed it fine. Chris did not.
I did not. I thought it was not good. But Casey Affleck
This is
Oscar
this is
win?
like I feel about Instigators the way I feel about Deadpool and Wolverine. That was exactly what I expected, and I enjoyed my time in the theater.
Mine was you have all these great people involved, and they're talking about all the great movies they were influenced by, and then it's like a completely forgettable nothing burger. And I'm like, you all know that this is not good. There's no way Matt Damon, who is citing like Midnight Run and The Sting, or Casey Affleck, who's like Butch and Sundance. Not that the movie has to be as good as those movies, but there's no way you could cite those movies and then watch that movie and be like, yeah, we kind of
But I don't have a
replicated that.
problem with them citing those influences because, like you said, they don't have to be those movies. Like I think it's fine to say like we like those movies and we're influenced by them. Like they're not trying to make that movie or those movies. Like they just made this movie and it's just like a fun like summer mindless heist movie.
I didn't even think it was fun. I thought it was not very good. But Casey Affleck for an Oscar, Joyce.
I'm not predicting that anywhere, but I enjoyed it. Yeah.
This one's from Nancy, Joyce, about the Oscar hosts. So I know you're not going to care, but I just want to read it because Nancy's a loyal fan. Hi, Joyce and Chris. If the Academy doesn't give Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez a shot to host the Oscars next year. Who do you think should get the gig? For me, I would like the Muppets to host because they have hosting experience with the Muppet Show and Muppets Tonight, and they are fun to watch. And you don't have to worry about them doing anything controversial. Plus, it will give Disney the opportunity to reboot the Muppets franchise. If that's not feasible, get Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt to host because both of them are entertainers, hosted SNL, and have the chemistry as shown during their bit at the Oscars and in The Fall Guy. That's from Nancy.
I think there should be no host, so that's my pick.
A lot of people
Uh,
want the Muppets to host, Joyce.
that's been a conversation since they fired Brett Ratner like 12 years ago. Remember that? And people are
Yeah,
like, get the Muppets. I'm like, people think they want the Muppets, but they don't want the Muppets.
I
And
don't
that's
think so.
also going to be logistically difficult for them to pull off
Seems like it would be
too.
not real.
Yeah, it's like Muppets are good for a presenting bit, you know?
Yeah. Uh,
The only Murders Trio, everyone wants them for some reason. I'm just like, why?
I want them. I love Steve Martin and Martin Short
I
together.
love them,
That would
but
be
I
so
don't
much
need to
fun.
see them host an award show.
I mean, I think they would have Steve and Martin host, and then like Selena Gomez would come out and do her bit, and that would be it.
I don't need to see them do that. And like it'll be fun to see them present, I
I'm sure
guess.
they'll present.
But it's like they don't need to present. They could present at the Emmys because this
True.
is like
What about both?
this is in March. So, um, and I don't like in terms of like Ryan and Emily, I just like can't ever see them saying yes to it. Like that's the problem. It's not about like wanting people. Like we want people, right? But like they have to agree to it. And I don't see them saying yes to that.
I feel like the ship has sailed on their great chemistry because the movie was a flop.
Well, I think they still have chemistry and like the movie promo tour is over, of course. So there's no reason for them to do it together anymore.
Yeah. Uh, this one's from
But I think
Gabriel.
it'll be hard to get like actors like that to agree to do this.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard enough to get like, John Mulaney to do it.
Yeah, he didn't want
So
to do it.
he's busy, man. Jimmy Kimmel doesn't want to do it again. So it's a thankless job. I
Uh,
don't know. I
we
don't
have
know who
two,
they'll get, but
I don't know who they'll get either. I don't think they know who they'll get. We have two left. I'll do David L first, and then we're gonna do Gabriel to close it out, and then we'll have more emails next week. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. And remember, we're still doing Emmys until like middle of September. So get your Emmy questions in, I guess. Anyway, David L here. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Sorry about my last email being long. I'll take Joyce's advice and shorten my paragraphs so you don't have to read them so fast, Chris. Sometimes I have so many insights I get carried away and talk too much. Chris, I thought you were right on the money having Saoirse Ronan in first for the Outrun. As soon as it was announced, the film got picked up by Sony Pictures Classics. Her inclusion in the prediction center wasn't even dry, and I put her right at the top. I really thought you were getting smarter, Chris, and then you proved me wrong yet again by putting Carla Sofia Gascon in first place. Just what? I don't see that happening. I haven't seen Amelia Perez yet, but since it's a musical crime comedy entirely in Spanish and the critics' reception has been pretty mild, it feels like another Saltburn, a film that's divisive towards audiences and industry members. I think Saoirse Ronan could really win because it feels like a moving performance we haven't seen from her before, and she cemented herself as an Academy fave. So I don't see why the industry would go for an unknown like Gascon. My second question is why do so many people have Sing Sing in first? I saw this movie 3 months ago at an early film festival in May, and Chris, I agree with your review on Letterboxd that it's very slight and gets repetitive in the third act, and Coleman Domingo outburst at the end feels a little forced. Uh, the Let me see what else. I'm sorry, I lost my
are
train of
you
thought
cutting
here.
his paragraphs?
No, yes, but no. Sing Sing feels like a small lightweight contender that could just be an indie spirits movie rather than a heavy Oscar contender based on the fact that it won't have any below the line nominations or over other heavy craft films this year. Chris, have fun at Telluride. I hope you have a safe flight to Colorado, my local film festival where all this late releases premiere doesn't start until October. So I'll be sure to report to you on the films you haven't seen yet, like Night Bitch and maybe some others. From David L. To be fair, my Letterboxd review, I was not negative on the film. If A24 is watching,
I mean, I didn't think you were.
I did say I think it gets a little repetitive in the third act, though. It just feels
I
like
don't
we're
think
hitting a
that's
lot of the
I
same
don't think
beats.
that's like a negative. I think people have a hard time understanding criticism even about things they like. So
That's true. Yeah, I had Saoirse Ronan first. I really did. I just put like I put Carla Sofia Gascon in first because I had Amelia Perez winning Best Picture. I think if it wins Best Picture, I think she would win Best Actress, but I don't know if it'll win Best Picture, so
I mean, it doesn't have to win Best Actress.
it
Like,
doesn't, but it could based on what we've seen recently. I think it would, you know.
I mean, I don't know who's winning that again, and I can see an argument for either of them. Like we talk about Saoirse, like with Carla, I think she'll get a lot of breakthrough notices, of course.
Hmm.
So
Would that be a demerit to her candidacy because then they could, cordon her off in the breakthrough
yeah, they
category?
they could like that's what they did to Austin,
Not
like
great.
she could split it with Mikey,
Not great.
they'll
Two
split the break.
breakthroughs.
Yeah, two breakthroughs against
Ties. What kind
Saoirse.
of ties are we going to get at the Critics' Choice Awards?
They haven't had a tie in a while though.
Last email here from Gabriel Joyce. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I'm so sick of people referring to Robert Downey Jr.'s victory as a quote career Oscar. Yes, his overdue narrative certainly played a part in his sweep, but that performance received plenty of acclaim on its own. Considering Oppenheimer was embraced by general audiences, critics, and the industry alike, I think it's fair to say he would have won even if he was a former winner. People only call it that to diminish his win because their favorites lost. I just finished watching Furiosa on streaming. Am I crazy or are many scenes sped up? The characters and camera move unnaturally fast. It took me a while to get used to that, but otherwise, it's a fantastic film, and I hope it can scoop a few Oscar nominations despite its poor box office showing. I'm extremely hyped for Gins Zilbalabi's Flow. The trailer looked wondrous, and everything about it seemed right up my alley. Sight unseen, do you think there is room for two smaller films in Flow and Memoir of a Snail to make it into the animated feature lineup, or will larger studio films like The War of Rohirrim, which is the Lord of the Rings movie, Moana 2, beat one or both of them to a nomination? We saw most recently that without a consensus fifth nominee, Robot Dreams was able to sneak in, presumably thanks to the animators, and I'm hoping something similar can happen this year. Finally, why do you think it's taking so long for Queer and Maria to find distribution, and is that a red flag for the Oscar chances? That's from Gabriel.
Well, with animated, I think, yeah, like probably at least one of them, maybe. But there are several like populist things.
Inside Out 2 Wild Robot, I think, is going to be a huge
Yeah, that's
contender.
got a huge push.
Huge.
So, um, yeah,
Wild Robot could actually be I wouldn't be surprised if people are like predicting that as a Best Picture nominee if it's well received.
yeah,
Uh, Not Despicable Me 4, though.
your fave.
Not bad. Seen worse. Uh,
And then for the distribution thing, I mean, we've talked about this before, maybe even last month, about just in general, there just because of the state of the industry, um, a lot of slow pickups for films.
what distributors make sense for these movies? Obviously, like Neon would make sense for Maria, right? Based on Spencer, I guess.
I, yeah, but I don't know. Like, I think like queer, like obviously MGM makes sense for it, but I also don't know
Does
if they would do that.
does Netflix have like last year at this time we had Netflix had several Best Actors contenders,
I don't know. I don't think that Netflix would do Maria. I don't.
but like they could because they don't have really like who's their best actors. Like they still deciding on categories for his three daughters. We assume it'll all be supporting, right? We didn't even mention Elizabeth Olsen, who's good in the movie too. But if they were going to do one of them as lead, I guess they would throw Carrie Coon in lead based on the movie. I think you can make the argument.
But
Though I think
they already have Carla. Like they could focus on Carla, unlike
so
last
Carla
year when
would
they
be their
had both.
one focus. I guess I was just thinking like they could add Angelina Jolie.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really see like a streamer picking up either of them. I don't know.
I'm just trying to think who's at like and who else like A24 is stacked slate. I don't think they have room for any
Yeah,
of
because it's
these.
about like needs too, and then like what like and then budget. Like what are they
So
gonna throw for
A24
distribution?
has a stacked slate. Netflix, okay, like neither one of these really seem like they would go there, and they
They
also have like
could,
a
like,
lot. They
yeah.
could. Neon has got some movies, certainly, right? Like in contention, chiefly Enora. So like they'd have Nora with Mikey Madison and Maria. Seems not ideal, but you can see it. Like Universal is gonna, it's a major studio gonna pick up any of these? Doubtful.
I don't see that happening. I think it'll be something small.
Does
Um,
Apple?
I
No,
can't see that either of them on Apple.
no. So I'm like, I don't really know where these are gonna go. I guess what you were saying before. Do one of these get pushed next year?
I mean, that could happen depending on like who picks what up, and they could just be like, we're just gonna punt this to 2025.
Which is gonna have a lot of major movies, but maybe a softer field for some of these categories. We don't know. It'll be interesting to see. By the time we talk about Oscars next, Joyce, in full, one of these will these have distribution off of Venice?
I don't know.
I don't either.
I think like sometimes like we've seen this year, like even when like there are reported discussions for these pickups, like it takes a while too. You know, it's
Like
not, it used to be like 7 years ago, it used to be like immediate. Like the film screens, there are discussions, and the next day it's like Netflix picked it up for $17 million.
like yeah, I don't know. I was also like, what if one of these is like Lee, the Kate Winslet movie that's coming out in
That,
September?
that premiered last year at TIFF.
At this time last year, we were maybe thinking of it as like a dark, like her as a Best Actress
Well,
contender.
yeah, I remember like last year, people were upset they couldn't predict Lee, and it's like, well, it turns out no one could predict Lee last year.
And now you can, and no one
Yeah,
is.
we haven't even talked about it, so
So I'm like, what if one of these is Lee? You don't think it will be because of like the pedigree and like the enthusiasm and like the anticipation, but it's possible.
yeah, I think there's, I mean, definitely for sure for Queer, there's a lot more anticipation for it than for Maria, just like among like film Twitter, you know, like people want that to come out this year, you
I
know.
think, and again, this is maybe like ingrained in like the sexism of the industry where you're just like, oh, like these like the male movies are taking movies focused on men are taken more seriously than movies focused on women, right? Like it's a historic, unfortunate precedent. But I feel like Maria is only going to be thought of as like an actress contender, no matter what.
Yeah, but I think that's also, I understand like the larger point you're making, but I think that's also because of how Pablo's previous films of this triptych have
Yes.
performed, you know.
So it's both of those things. And queer, I think, would have further like has a potential for like supporting
But
actor
it could also like
nomination.
miss like Best Picture too. Like I think
Yeah,
people wanted to get in.
right.
That's the
It could
difference.
get like multiple nominations, whereas Maria, I think, has a ceiling, different kind of thing. Uh, Joyce, we'll be back next week with our back to the Emmys, our penultimate episode before we do our predictions for creative arts and final Emmy picks. We're gonna go through some Emmy ballots.
Yeah,
Can't
because
wait.
next week Emmy voting will be over by then. So
Cannot wait for that. Can't wait to see what people voted on anonymously, so then I can change my picks in a last second
based
panic
on 3
based on
ballots.
3 ballots out of thousands and thousands. It's going to be fantastic. All right, we'll talk then. I'll talk to you then, Joyce. Bye.